Hello everyone, this is Sunny and I'm coming to you with You'll Learn to Love Me, Yandere, Masky, X-Reader by FluffyWubs. We're going to be starting off with chapter 33. I stare up at the ceiling. How late is it? There's no digital clock nearby besides my phone, but I just don't feel like grabbing it. There's also a clock on the wall, but it's too dark to tell the actual time. Still, I'm sure it's late. My room is filled to the brim with darkness and silence, and the only source of light I get is the moon's shine that shines through the small window. I can't close my eyes. I keep thinking Toby will attack out of nowhere. When Helen told me he was still alive, I swear I almost passed out. I thought I had gotten my vengeance and made this world a better place by just 1%, but no. That lucky bastard. I should have just ended his pathetic life by putting a bullet through his skull. I pull the blankets up to my chin. My eyes are dead tired, but yet I don't dare to close them. Even if they do so themselves, I end up prying them open. I shift my eyes away from the ceiling for just a moment to catch something moving in the corner of the room. Thinking it's just a trick my mind is playing, I rub it at my eyes for a couple of seconds. I expect the shadow to disappear once I reopen them. I'm far from right. It's still here and it just seems closer. I start to internally panic and ready to press the button to call a nurse with my chest thumping loudly. I blindly feel at the side of my bed trying to find the little remote to call someone. Hey, relax, princess. For all I know, there's only one person that calls me princess. I slowly retract my hand from the button, narrowing my eyes at the figure. Masky? I furrow my brows. There's no physical way he could have entered the room besides using the door or the window. The door hasn't opened in hours, and the entire time I've been in here. I haven't seen nor heard the window open, and something here isn't right. I blink repeatedly, making sure I'm not dreaming or making things up. And the third time I open up my eyes, the figure is gone. Huh. I'm most likely just seeing things and hearing them. It happens when I don't get enough sleep. I let out a breath and shut my eyes to rest them for a bit. This is just because I haven't seen Masky in some time. I really need to stop thinking about him. I can feel myself slowly drift off, and finally, before I can rest my mind, however, I feel a sharp pain running through my leg. I snap my eyes open and scramble to sit up straight. Then my gaze travels down to my leg only to realize that there is a blade of a hatchet stuck to it. My heart starts to race and my mind starts to panic. I feel like throwing up. I slam a hand onto my mouth to prevent anything from exiting my stomach. Did I hurt the little mouse? I jerk my head to the side only to meet with a pair of orange-tinted goggles. No. How did he get in here? My legs hurt. I can't move. I can't run. I'm going to die. Toby coils his fingers around the wooden handle of the hatchet. He wiggles the blade a bit in my flesh before ripping it out with a stomach-churning sound. I try to let out a sound, a scream, a whimper, anything, yet even if I open up my mouth, I can't manage to utter a word. I tap the side of my bed repeatedly, feeling around to find the remote to call a nurse. My breath gets caught in my throat when I suddenly feel my head being forced up, exposing my bare neck. I can feel the sharp, cold blade of the hatchet being pressed against my skin, and I shudder. Tears run down my cheeks freely as I feel around for the remote. Where is it? Where is it? You poor little thing. I hear his tauntingly voice coo softly into my ear. I feel my finger brush up against something smooth. That's it. That's the button. Shame I need to finish you off so quickly. Oh well. I finally get a grip around the remote and repeatedly press the button in a panic. I can feel the blade being pressed against my skin even harder. It's almost like I can feel it pierce into my flesh. Good night. The nurses were not going to make it here in time. I shut my eyes tight and embraced myself for the blow. Ryan, are you okay? You were pressing the button over and over. I snapped my eyes open to a well-lit room. The lights were on, brightening up the entire scenario around me. I dart my eyes around the room in dismay. Where did he go? I sniffle, bringing a sleeve up to my cheek to wipe them dry. It felt so unreal, but it had to be real. I could still feel the sharp pain in my leg. I looked down at my legs, expecting the sheets to be stained with blood, and nothing. They were sparkling clean. I look over to the side, seeing Samantha rush over to me. Oh gosh, is it your leg? Let me check. She pulls the covers down enough to be able to see my legs. She gently rolls the cuff of the pants up to my knee and slightly forces my leg to bend, and I wince as she slightly leans down to look underneath my knee. I think a stitch came loose. Come on, we need to get that fixed right now. My leg feels numb. Yeah, that will certainly help me fall asleep. Note the sarcasm. It took half an hour to get everything fixed up before I was allowed to be reeled back into my room. I'm laying down in my bed again, the same position as I was before, and my back comfortably sinking into the soft mattress and my eyes fixated on the ceiling. I still can't figure out whether the visit from the orange goggle killer really happened or not, and it all felt so real. I felt the sharpness of the blade against my skin. I felt him pierce that blade through my skin. Then again, I remember this happening when I was with Masky. Even then, I couldn't figure out if that was also real or not. I rub at my tired eyes and let out a yawn. Still tired, yet can't fall asleep on my own without the thought of Toby being in my room pulling me away. I wish someone would stay in this room with me. Too bad Helen had to leave once visiting time would be over. I fold my hands over my stomach. I can't help but wonder where Masky is. Once the morning hits, it'll be officially 4 days since I've seen him. Did he just leave for no reason? Maybe I'm no use to him now that I can't walk. I mean, not like I was any use to him in the first place, but the thought of him leaving me just because I got injured, it made my heart sink. Why? I'm not sure. I mean, Masky doesn't mean anything to me. I couldn't give two shits about him. I scoff to myself. Sometimes I just think, why me? Out of all the billions of people out there, why did I have to be the one chosen to get sucked into a life like this? First I get tricked, then I get robbed twice, and then I end up being kidnapped by some absolute insane murderer. I pull the covers up to my chin as an attempt to comfort myself. It's the middle of the night, and I'm just overthinking things. I need to calm myself down and go to sleep already. I can't let the swarming thoughts in my head prevent me from getting decent sleep. I sigh, relaxing my tense muscles before shutting my eyes. It'll get better. I just need to stay optimistic. The morning rolled in pretty quickly. I was actually woken up early because of all the tapping of shoes against the marbled floor in the hall. I roughly got 3 hours of sleep, so I wouldn't be surprised if it actually looked like I'd been through hell and back. I licked my bottom lip before glancing at the clock that hung on the wall. 8:45 a.m. Just 15 more minutes until visiting time. Helen is probably coming by soon, and I hope he brings a decent meal because, man, am I hungry. I rub my eyes and release a yawn before propping my pillow up so I could sit up and lean against it. I'm mentally exhausted, yet I can't do anything to help it. I glance over to my side, snatching the TV remote from one of the nightstands. Every single day, I'm just repeating the same cycle. Wake up, entertain myself, spend time with Helen, and before I know it, the day is over. I switched the TV on, which immediately showed the children's channel I saw before. There may be something else, and that's mildly interesting. I surfed through the multiple channels, infomercials, music channels, movies, you get the point. In the early morning, there's really nothing interesting on besides the news, so I'll stick to that. Once I landed upon a news channel, I placed the remote down on my lap. I wasn't paying attention to what the people were saying. I was mostly just staring at the screen while being in my own world. I couldn't help but let my mind wander off like it always does. I wonder, where did Lou go? I haven't heard where he went off to ever since, well, the incident. It makes me disappointed. He seemed like such a good person, and he gave no murderous vibes whatsoever, but deep down, I think we all know he's a ruthless killer. Still, I don't like to think about that. I let out a sigh, snapping myself out of my thoughts and actually paying attention to the news. At first, it wasn't anything that sparked my interest, something about an Olympian winning a medal, nothing which I cared about. However, the next story rolled in quickly enough before I was about to switch to another channel. A murderer is apparently on the loose around my neighborhood. This couldn't get any better. A male, around 6 foot tall, has been preying on innocent lives, but more specifically, young women. The description foretold that he wore a dirtied white hoodie and a pair of black pants. They flashed a picture on the screen, which only showed someone in a white hoodie, that had placed over his head to hide his face. I could still manage to catch a few strands of charcoal hair sticking out of the hood, though. I shiver. It's terrifying to know that a dangerous person is roaming around, preying on, well, women around my age. But I know I'm safe in a hospital. They have security cameras around the building and in the hall, so I should be safe, right? Of course I'm right. I shouldn't even be doubting myself. Before I knew it, it was already visiting time, and as expected, Helen came in 9 o'clock sharp. He had 2 plastic bags in his hands as usual, one for food and the other for drawing utensils. He sat down on the chair beside my bed and unpacked the many goods from the week, plastic white bags. The plastic containers were filled with delicious breakfast foods such as scrambled eggs, waffles, and bacon. He popped off the caps in the container and placed each of them on my lap. For drinks, he had a thermos cup which was filled with sweet, warm tea. Hell, being as hungry as I am right now, I didn't hesitate to gobble everything down. As I was savoring my food while watching TV, I glanced over to Helen, who was, of course, busy with drawing. And swallowing the last bits in my mouth, I questioned, "Have you seen the news?" Helen replies, dry as always, by just humming in confirmation. I wonder if he knows anything about the murderer. There's a killer on the loose, I state. Helen nods his head ever so slightly as if it were something completely normal to him, which, let's be honest, it is. Yeah, it's Jeff, he hums. I arch a brow. I didn't expect him to getting his name so quick. I mean, would a killer rat out another killer? Not even the news knew the guy's name. Jeff. I repeat to myself slowly. Doesn't seem like a name for a killer. I clear my throat. You were quick giving out his name, I state. Helen shrugs his shoulders, leaning back in his seat. I know, mostly because I don't care. Everybody hates him, he states, as if this were a conversation about a normal person. By everybody, I assume he means his other killer friends. Man, it's an entire circle of murderers that work together. Kind of. I see, I hum before returning to eat the rest of my breakfast. Looks like I know a bit more about this Jeff guy. Time flew by way too fast, and before I knew it, it was already nighttime. Visiting time was only 10 minutes away from ending, but Helen had to leave early to take care of his own things. I can't blame him. The guy has a life of his own, too. He can't spend the rest of his days looking after someone like me. And at this moment, I was only accompanied by the TV, which hangs from the ceiling. I was bored out of my mind, but there were only a few more hours to go before my actual time where I usually fall asleep. Might as well use my last conscious moments watching some cliche dramas that were currently playing. I glance over at the clock. Time was going by slowly. Barely a minute has gone by. I sigh, rubbing my tired eyes. Note to self, don't sleep late. Even if these weird semi-realistic nightmares keep you up. I slowly shut my eyes, taking steady breaths. Maybe I could fall asleep earlier so I won't have any trouble later. And just before I was about to drift off to sleep, I hear a pair of heavy footsteps heading down the hall, getting closer and closer to my door. I was expecting them to pass by, but to my surprise, the footsteps stopped right at my door. 3 knocks were heard, making me fully awake once more. I shift myself up into a presentable position, letting out one last yawn. Come in? I gave permission to whoever knocked on my door. I thought it might be Samantha, but when she's nearby, I usually hear the clicking of heels, so it can't be her. The door slightly creaked open, as if cautiously peeking inside. I cocked my head to the side to get a better look at whoever was at the door before realizing who it was. I would jump out of my bed if I could. I can recognize those piercing emerald eyes anywhere. Hey, miss me? That is the end of that chapter. The chapter after that one is chapter 34. Let me know how you guys feel about that one, and I will see you guys in the next episode. And until next time, bye-bye.